When you're Meghan Markle, you may in fact live in a fantasy world. I know that's hard to imagine, isn't it? But Meghan, you see, has her own version of events, her own plot, her own lifestyle, and it's Meghan's world. And some people, for a short period at least, perhaps are lucky enough to live in it. Take note, Prince Harry. You see, let me draw your attention to Meghan's, well, shall we say, relationship with His Majesty the King, King Charles III. Currently, of course, undergoing his own serious health problems. But according to Meghan's camp and Meghan herself, and as ever we have to say allegedly, they have a very special relationship. In fact, so close, it didn't take much persuading for her to ask him and persuade him, shall I say, to walk her down the aisle for that wedding. The spectacle, of course, that apparently she felt was, well, it's just a spectacle, not a celebration of history, and indeed a wonderful welcoming day by so many people over here in the United Kingdom and, of course, around the world. That was the grateful thanks that Meghan gave for many people spending quite literally billions of pounds watching her wedding. You couldn't make it up, really, could you? And this, of course, is a woman who's hoping that we're all going to buy into her brand. But let me explain the next part of this particular, or shall we say, strange phenomena, is the only way you could describe it. Let me explain. Good to see you today in the splendour of Kensington Gardens, as ever, looking wonderful at this time of year, all coming back to life apart from you and me. Feel like Frankenstein's monster some days, don't you? You need to be plugged in, bolt through the neck and some electricity just to get going. You're the same. Yeah, well, I can see. Yes, you do though, don't you? You just have days where you think, oh, I've got no energy at all. And then, you get out a little bit, and as often said, you feel a little bit better in the daylight, don't you? If you can. I know it's hard for many people, but just get near the window open sometimes is a blessing, isn't it? Might be even better than listening to me making myself laugh now. Yes. Back as ever to your royal story of the day. Now, as I said, Meghan believes that herself and His Majesty the King, King Charles, do have something of a bonded connection. They got on incredibly well, and apparently, according to her, they talked about everything, from classical music, plants, to the books they both read, and the authors, novels, and everything that inspired each other. Wonderful story, don't you think? Now, according to Meghan, the reason why she feels that, in fact, secretly, His Majesty the King, Charles, will be behind her on her latest venture is, well, quite frankly, he did something himself very similar. Duchy of Cornwall, remember that? Now, the difference between, of course, Meghan and the Duchy of Cornwall is simply the fact that he had a portion of it donated to the Prince's Trust, which was there to give a lot of help to a lot of people. Right now, we've yet to find out whether Meghan, of course, is donating any of her potential earnings of the forthcoming lifestyle brand that is American Riviera Orchard. Yes, I know, keep up. But what's fascinating also, when you think we're still waiting to find out the profits and charities that are going to benefit from Prince Harry's book Spare, so we might have something of a long wait. But according to Meghan's team, yes, he will be behind her 100%. Totally understand that now she's a woman of independent means, making her own money, and of course starting her own brand. Now, this, of course, is a fascinating sort of theory, isn't it? As many people know, when Harry came over back here to see his father on that very fleeting visit recently, a lot of people were relieved that he was coming alone. And apparently, though, this will only be a matter of time before Meghan reaches out and cements the difficult problems between his youngest son and His Majesty the King. Now isn't the right time, but she can be assured, apparently, that His Majesty the King is very much behind her, looking forward to her latest project, and perhaps she will be alluding to this in some forthcoming broadcasts. But she can't wait. Neil Sean in the very heart of Kensington Gardens, London.